What's good, y'all, and welcome to another vid. Talin and Lyra arrive tomorrow on their very own 20x banner. So let's talk Lyra, let's talk Talin. How many do you need? Should you summon all that much? Is there anything super bright on the horizon? And let's talk Abyss 1. So, first off, something that I noticed or told you about on the channel quite a bit ago, and that is the Abyss 1 nerf. It is now 100% certain what that is going to be, and that is the blood requirements to kill Abyss 1 are going to go down from 600,000, so a 20k average per person, down to 200,000 or a 6.7k average per person. But yeah, overall you only now need a third of the damage against Abyss 1 to fully down it, making it way more achievable for guilds, while shield HP, damage and every imaginable metric at the moment still stays the same. So on the note of Abyss 1, what do you want in Abyss 1? In Abyss 1 you want physical damage over magical damage, and the reason for that is the way Abyss 1 is structured. You're starting out on a physical, then going into a magical, into another physical, followed by magical, into a physical, and ending on a magical. You would imagine, based on that, with every phase being equally present, that none should be more prevalent. But the issue here is there is a third physical shield, but there never is a third magical shield. So what that means is, if you play Abyss 1, your focus should always be on the physical side of things. Not only are you getting to the shields first, but the shields are also stronger, and overall you have one more vulnerability phase for the physical side of things. Meaning that inherently speaking, physical DPS are more prevalent and look more prevalent, as well as also having these two physical DPS, or three depending on how many you bring, being Wukong and Kigiri, just 100% screws with the perception of what you need. But that's also kind of Abyss 1 for you at the moment, because what you need is the very tippity top, the very cream of the crop. And that brings us to Talon. So because you're going to mainly focus on the physical side of things, because that is going to provide the bigger challenges, you kind of want to get away with the least amount of magical DPS possible. And in most scenarios, it's one of two things. You running an Ingrid, and then a Soul Cadence plus Hex, Soul Cadence plus Phineas, or just a Soul Cadence Phineas Hex. So it's either Ingrid and then those. And just from me trying, I was really seeing if maybe, for example, Talon changes the game and you can unlock a key 22k run without like any great investing or like any great awakenings or great gear. But sadly you really only bring 2 magic DPS, and unfortunately there's one that just performs better than Talon, especially for this boss, or technically 2. She still cannot compete against what a Hex or a Soul Cadence bring to the table, especially with Soul Cadence being a Lord. There's another issue. Most of the time you end up with Lord position for the magic damage already, so not only are they dealing magic damage, but they're also Lords. So we've been rambling for quite a while. Let's get to Talon. So Talon's kit is unique. That's true. Talon's kit is very strong. That's also true. Talon can deal damage in both marksman and the ground phase. Also true. She can, as the very first fighter slash tank, run a Ichor Chalice, allowing her to restore HP per basic attack, while also restoring HP through ultimate, while also restoring HP through set effect, giving her the ability to regenerate a guaranteed 10% HP per hit during ultimate, as well as 5% every 5 seconds. Though damage wise she's good. She's very good, but not Abyss 1 good. if you're just looking for Abyss 1, Talin isn't going to reinvent your account. She is no equivalent to Wukong or Kigiri, and that's just the way it is, right? So you have to know this about Talin first. Secondly, even though she out damages a bonded Silas 1-for-1 any metric, she still isn't good enough. And that's one of the bigger problems with Abyss 1 and everybody wanting to know, oh, are they Abyss 1 viable and stuff like that. Even a bonded Silas has no place in proper endgame teams unless you have no other choice. And this is kind of where like this perception shift comes in, because all of a sudden you need a hero that outperforms 99% of every available unit. So again, we've been rambling for 2 minutes. What do I even want to say with all this? So there's two things, right? You're gonna summon for Nora once if you don't have her, and you might summon for her twice if you already have her. I'm not a great fan of summoning for her again, her A1. It's great, but it's not going to be required. And in that process, you are going to be using your pity on the Talon banner. The best case, the most optimal scenario, would you be going in and walking away with a Talon. That would pretty much solve everything. That's the way it goes. That would be the easiest outcome. Outside of that, you could also be pulling a Lyra. So something that Lyra and Talon have in common is that they're almost the same unit from a certain perspective. Both are single target mages with huge burst windows featuring offensive dispels, meaning the ability to get rid of, for example, buffs on, let me see. Am I blind? What am I doing? There you go, right? If two Cosmic Rifts exist, dispels one buff from the target. Sorry that this took me so long, right? So you have the offensive dispel from the two rifts, and you have the offensive dispel from right here. I think this one, right? So Lyra's is only on ultimate, while hers is every 8 attacks, which at minimum happens twice, for example, during the ultimate. So you have like a higher strip frequency. And if I had to give you a easy to understand ranking, then here's Talon and there's Lyra, right? If you had to, or if you could wish for someone to pull off the Lyra and Talon banner, you would wish for a Lyra. You would wish for a Talon, because Talon does better what Lyra does already very well. And also from like a stylistic point of things, you have once again a unit that can do both ground and platform work. Is there anything specific you need her for? No. Can she replace Hex in most of Hex's greatest strength? Yes. Can you run her in Gear Dungeon 2? Oh hell yeah. Can you run her in NM4 no problem and get great numbers? Oh, absolutely. Is she gonna be incredibly useful in Guild Boss 2 if you don't have a Dispeller in, for example, Kigiri? Absolutely. Though, then again, you're fighting against a Hex and also a Kigiri, and you don't necessarily have to bring 2 Dispellers. What I want to say with all of this is, I still think she's a must summon, just not a must awaken, if that makes sense. So her awakenings are decent, especially with this one for the Thorn Shield giving you 2% extra damage, or overall if you check out the amount of stacks right here, when deployed gains 1 stack of Thorn Shield every 15 seconds up to 15 stacks, so a 30% just raw damage increase. She still performs well without that A1, and with the A3 what you would be gaining is the ability to generate Thorn Shield stacks during ultimate, as well as increasing the cap by 5. So then to a total of 20 stacks, or a 20 or 40% damage increase. If you had to summon for an awakening for Talon, it would be the A1. It has by far the biggest impact on Talon's power. just increasing the damage by a raw 30% just through Awakening A1. So Abyss 1 solution, for some accounts yes, but you already have to be established. General Abyss 1 solution, not necessarily, because the focus of Abyss 1 still is more physical rather than magical. She's still a very great unit, but you know what? I am scared to be like, oh, okay, go all out on Talon, because yes, we do know the next couple weeks is banners with, for example, Hatsid and Twyla, but what we don't know is, number one, when's the anniversary, and number two, what happens on the anniversary. Something I can already tell you though is, Melric is another unit you kind of want to have at least once, though he's also someone you can skip. So from every unit we know of currently, there is no immediate, oh, I need that unit. Then again, anniversary is on the way. But what I find interesting with last year's anniversary specifically is the fact that we didn't get these like must-have units during the anniversary. No, we got them 2 and 4 months respectively after the anniversary for whatever reason. Because during our anniversary we got, yes, 2 strong AoE mages in Anora and let's see if we can find the other girl. In Anora and Dahlia. But by no means were they ever truly required for anything, and both are AoE rather than single target. So that leaves up the question of, are the devs cooking up something special for the anniversary? Is there anything we're missing? Are we going to see the new class on the anniversary? Because that is another like quote unquote pet peeve, and that is, I am 95 to 99% sure Talon is not a tactical mastery unit. Talon is a marksman. She might have a ground form, but she's still a marksman. The same way that Melric is a mage, even though he can swap stances. Just because Ingrid can swap stances, she's also not a tactical mastery class. So unless I see one of these horse riding units with my own eyes while they are still a fighter or a tank or whatever, I am not going to believe that these units are tactical mastery. Tactical mastery, the first time we saw it was as an icon under artifacts. An icon under artifacts, meaning that it was right here as pretty much a separate entity. And there was like the tactical mastery button which you could sort by. And it wouldn't make sense that, for example, it would only work on, let's say, Talon, Melric, and I don't know, Ingrid. Another note of artifacts is, the reason why I want you to at least get one copy is Talon is one exclusive artifact away from playing in the same leagues as Hex and getting closer to touching Wukong and Kigiri. That's how close she is, and that is why it's so frustrating that Abyss 1 is currently the hardest thing in the game, because even though she's so close, she's still so far. And with this one, I end my recommendations for you on how to feel about Talon, how to think about Talon. Obviously, just from a unit uniqueness perspective, I would recommend everyone at least get her. And once again, get her at maximum 2 copies. Anything past that is, in my opinion, a bit excessive. So, we see each other in the next one. Peace!